The massive alien ship appeared in Earth's sky without warning. It hovered above New York City, its silver hull reflecting the morning sun. People stopped and stared upward, their normal lives forgotten as history unfolded above them. Inside the United Nations building, Lieutenant John Miller adjusted his Navy uniform and took a deep breath. At 32 years old, with 10 years of military service, he never imagined being humanity's first official greeter to an alien species. His brown hair was cut short, his face clean-shaven per regulations. He had been chosen for his calm demeanor and quick thinking under pressure. "They're ready for you, Lieutenant," said a nervous aide, pointing toward the conference room. John nodded and walked through the double doors. Inside waited a group of high-ranking officials from various countries, generals, scientists, and politicians. At the center of attention stood 3 aliens. The creatures called themselves the HFY. They stood nearly 7 feet tall with slender bodies and pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer slightly under the lights. Their 4-fingered hands moved with grace as they spoke. Most striking were their large, almond-shaped eyes, entirely black except for small rings of silver. John noticed immediately how they struggled to move. Each HFY wore what looked like a metal exoskeleton over their limbs, and they moved with careful, measured steps. "Lieutenant Miller," said General Harris, "this is Ambassador Zektor and his associates, Verin and Nelax." The lead alien turned toward John. Despite the creature's height, it hunched slightly, as if carrying a heavy weight. "We are pleased to meet Earth's representative," said Zektor. His voice was smooth but had an odd musical quality to it. "Your world is heavier than we anticipated." John stepped forward and offered a small bow instead of a handshake, having been briefed on alien protocols. "Welcome to Earth, Ambassador. We're honored by your visit." Zektor attempted to return the bow, but winced visibly. "Forgive our awkwardness. Your planet's gravity is more than twice what we experience on Xilora. These supports help, but movement remains difficult." Over the next few hours, John learned about the HFY. They came from a star system 80 light-years from Earth. Their civilization was thousands of years older than humanity's. They had observed Earth for decades before deciding to make contact. "Your species has potential," said Verin, the scientist of the group. She studied John with curious eyes. "Though your technology is primitive compared to ours." John noticed how the aliens needed to rest frequently. When they thought no one was watching, their faces showed pain and strain. "Why did you choose now to reveal yourselves?" asked John. Zektor exchanged glances with his companions. "The galaxy is larger and more populated than you know. There are alliances and conflicts. We believe humans could be valuable allies." John sensed there was more to the story, but the aliens changed the subject. "We propose a technological exchange," Zektor continued. "We can offer advances in medicine, energy production, and space travel. In return, we seek resources and other forms of assistance." Later that evening, John sat in his temporary quarters reviewing the day's events. The HFY clearly viewed humans as technologically backward but physically strong. They seemed surprised when John carried a heavy case of equipment without difficulty, something that would have required 2 HFY with their support frames. His phone rang. It was Dr. Susan Clark from the scientific team. "Lieutenant, we've analyzed the medical data from our visitors," she said, excitement in her voice. "Their muscle density is roughly half of ours. Their bone structure would be considered fragile by our standards. It's their adaptation to low gravity." John looked out the window at the alien ship hovering in the distance. "They think we're the primitive ones," he said, "but I'm starting to wonder if they understand what humans are truly capable of." Susan laughed softly. "They have no idea. To them, we must seem like apes, strong but simple. I think they're about to learn that appearances can be deceiving." John nodded to himself. Humanity's first contact with alien life had begun, and already it seemed the visitors had greatly underestimated their hosts. 6 months passed since the HFY arrived on Earth. Lieutenant John Miller stood in the gym at the new Interspecies Relations Center, watching Dr. Kate Williams lift weights. Sweat ran down her face as she completed her final set of squats. "That's 300 pounds, she said, breathing hard as she racked the bar. "Not bad for someone who studies plants for a living." John smiled. "The Xilari would find it impossible. They can barely handle their own body weight in our gravity." Kate grabbed a towel and wiped her face. At 35, she was one of Earth's leading botanists, with bright eyes and short blonde hair that she kept pulled back during workouts. The Xilari had selected her for her knowledge of plant biology and adaptation. "Do you think we're ready?" she asked. Before John could answer, Alan Rodriguez walked in. The 40-year-old diplomat had years of international negotiation experience and spoke 7 languages. His normally perfect suit was replaced with workout clothes. "The invitation is official," Alan said, holding up his tablet. "We leave in 2 weeks for Xilora. The 3 of us will represent Earth." John felt a mix of excitement and worry. No human had ever left the solar system before. "How long will the journey take?" 3 weeks in their fastest ship," Alan replied. "They've adjusted part of the vessel to Earth gravity for us, but we'll need to adapt to lower gravity before we arrive." For the next 2 weeks, the 3 humans trained harder than ever. Scientists tested their strength, endurance, and reaction times. The Xilari observed these tests with what seemed like surprise. On the day of departure, John stood before the enormous Xilari ship named Starwind. His family had said their goodbyes the night before. Now Earth's future might depend on this mission. Ambassador Zector greeted them at the boarding ramp. After months on Earth, he still moved carefully in his exoskeletal support frame. "Welcome, friends," he said. "You honor us with your trust." Inside the ship, the human quarters looked almost normal, with Earth furniture and familiar foods. The artificial gravity matched Earth's pull. "Each day, we will decrease gravity by 5%, explained Varen, the Xilari scientist. "This will help you adjust to Xilara's conditions." The ship lifted off smoothly. Through the viewing port, John watched Earth grow smaller until it was just a blue dot among the stars. By the second week, the gravity had been reduced to 70% of Earth normal. The humans found themselves bouncing when they walked, laughing as they adapted to the strange feeling. "I can jump twice as high," Kate said, demonstrating with a leap that nearly touched the ceiling. "Save your energy," Alan advised. "We don't know what awaits us." During dinner with the Xilari crew, John noticed how they moved more freely as the gravity decreased. They seemed surprised by how well the humans were adapting. "Your species is remarkably flexible," Zector commented. "Most species struggle greatly with gravity changes." Later that night, Kate pulled John and Alan into her quarters. She lowered her voice. "I found something in the ship's database they gave me access to. The Xilari aren't just looking for friendly relations." She showed them images of another alien species, bulky creatures with thick limbs and armored skin. "They're called the Drakari. They've been attacking worlds in this sector for decades." John frowned. "They look stronger than the Xilari." Kate nodded. "Their homeworld has 0.8 gravity, much closer to Earth than Xilora. The Xilari and their allies are losing the war." Alan sat down heavily. "So that's why they came to Earth. They don't want our technology." "No," John said, understanding dawning on him. "They want our strength. They think humans are primitive, but they need us." Kate looked out at the stars streaking past. "We're heading into a war zone, and they haven't told us the whole truth." John stood up straight. "Then we need to show them exactly what humans can do. If they think we're just muscle, they're about to learn how wrong they are." The ship continued toward Xilora, carrying the 3 humans into a galaxy far more dangerous than they had been told. The Starwind dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a subtle shudder. John looked out the viewport and saw Xilora for the first time. The planet glowed a soft greenish blue, with swirling white clouds and vast oceans. 2 small moons orbited nearby. "It's beautiful," Kate whispered, standing beside him. After 3 weeks of space travel, the humans had adjusted to the lower gravity. They now moved with a bouncy grace that matched the Siluri's natural movements. "Prepare for landing," announced the ship's computer in its melodic voice. The 3 humans trapped themselves into seats as the ship descended through Siluri's atmosphere. Outside, they glimpsed sprawling cities with impossible architecture, towers that curved and twisted in ways that would collapse under Earth's gravity. Bridges spanned enormous distances without visible supports. "Those buildings would never stand on Earth," Alan noted. Zektor nodded. "Our world allows for structures your engineers can only dream of." The ship landed at a massive spaceport where dozens of alien vessels sat on gleaming platforms. As the ramp lowered, John took a deep breath of alien air. It smelled sweeter than Earth's, with hints of unfamiliar spices. "Welcome to Xelara," said Zektor, now moving with fluid grace. He had removed his exoskeletal supports and stood tall and proud. A delegation waited for them, more Xelari, but also other aliens John had never seen before. Some had translucent skin that showed organs pulsing beneath. Others resembled large insects with multiple limbs. All shared a similar slender build adapted to low gravity. "These are representatives from the Coalition of Free Worlds," Zektor explained. 23 species united in peaceful cooperation. The humans were guided to a large open-air vehicle that floated above the ground. It carried them through the city to a massive crystal structure that served as the Coalition headquarters. Inside, in a grand circular chamber, representatives from all the Coalition species gathered to meet the humans. John felt dozens of alien eyes studying him and his companions. "Members of the High Council," announced Zektor, "I present the delegation from Earth." A tall Xelari with elaborate silver markings on his blue skin approached. "I am High Counselor Jalen. Your presence honors us. For too long, we believed Earth was too primitive to join our community. We were wrong." John stepped forward. "We appreciate your welcome, but we've learned that we weren't told everything about why you sought us out." The chamber grew quiet. Jalen's eyes narrowed slightly. "You are direct. Good. Yes, there is more to our interest in humans than scientific exchange." Jalen gestured, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the room. It showed a star map with certain systems highlighted in red. The Drakari Empire has conquered 7 Coalition worlds in the past decade. Their warriors are stronger than any Coalition species. The hologram changed to show the Drakari, muscular beings with thick limbs and reptilian features. They stood shorter than humans, but appeared densely built. "Their homeworld has higher gravity than any Coalition planet," explained Jalen. "It gives them natural advantages in strength and endurance." "Except against us," Kate said, understanding. "Earth's gravity is even higher." Jalen nodded. "When we discovered your world, we were amazed. No intelligent species had ever evolved in such harsh conditions. You are unique in the known galaxy." "So you need soldiers," John said flatly. "We need allies," corrected Jalen. "The Drakari do not negotiate or show mercy. They enslave conquered worlds." Later, in their private quarters, the 3 humans discussed what they'd learned. "They've been watching us for decades," Alan said, "waiting for us to develop enough to be useful, but not advanced enough to be a threat." John paced the room, each step bouncing slightly in the low gravity. "They underestimated us. They think we're just strong bodies to throw at their enemies." Kate sat cross-legged on a floating cushion. "But we have more to offer than just muscle. They don't realize what humans are truly capable of." "Then we should show them," John replied, a determined look in his eyes. "Starting tomorrow, let's give them a demonstration they won't forget." Word spread quickly through the Coalition capital about the humans from the high-gravity world. By morning, a large crowd had gathered outside their quarters. Aliens of various species watched with curiosity as John, Kate, and Alan emerged. The High Council has arranged a demonstration of abilities, Zektor informed them. Many coalition members are eager to see what humans can do. They were led to a large, dome-shaped building that served as a training facility for coalition security forces. Inside, dozens of alien warriors practiced combat moves that seemed to flow like water in the low gravity. High Counselor Jalen greeted them. "We hope you will participate in some friendly competitions. It would help us understand your capabilities." John glanced at his companions. "I'll volunteer for physical tests." The first challenge was a simple lifting contest. John stepped onto a platform where a bar was loaded with weights. An insectoid alien named Crix went first, struggling to lift what the display showed as 100 units of weight. When John's turn came, he gripped the bar and lifted it easily. The crowd murmured in surprise. "More," John said calmly. They added weight until the bar held 300 units. John strained but managed to lift it. The audience buzzed with excitement. "Impossible," said one of the coalition warriors. "No species has ever lifted more than 200 units without mechanical assistance." Next came tests of speed and agility. In the low gravity, John found he could move faster than he ever had on Earth. He outran the fastest coalition warriors and jumped nearly 20 feet high with minimal effort. During a break, Kate pulled John aside. "They're recording everything. Look at the scientists in the corner. They're studying you like a lab specimen." John nodded. "Let them. They need to understand what they're dealing with." Alan approached with a concerned expression. "We have visitors, not coalition members." He subtly pointed to a group of observers with darker skin and heavier builds than the Xilari. They stood apart from the others, watching intently. "Drakari," whispered Kate. "They must have spies in the coalition." The final test was combat training. John faced a warrior named Thren, a tall being with 4 arms who was considered one of the coalition's best fighters. "We will spar lightly," Thren said. "No need for injuries." John nodded and took a fighting stance. Thren moved with incredible speed, his 4 arms a blur as he attacked. But John was ready. In the low gravity, his reflexes seemed supercharged. He dodged the attacks and countered with carefully controlled strikes. The match ended with Thren on his back, John standing over him with a hand extended in friendship. The crowd watched in stunned silence as John helped his opponent up. "Your species is remarkable," Thren said with genuine respect. Later that evening, as they returned to their quarters, Kate noticed they were being followed. "Don't look now, but we have company. 2 Drakari trying to blend in. They want to know more about us," Alan said quietly. "After today's display, we've become a threat to them." Back in their rooms, they found signs of intrusion. Small devices had been planted, listening devices, or worse. "They're planning something," John said as he crushed one of the devices in his hand. The door burst open. 4 Drakari rushed in, armed with strange weapons. "You will come with us," one ordered. "Our commanders wish to learn more about humans." John looked at Kate and Alan. Without words, they understood each other. The 3 humans had spent weeks training together, preparing for this mission. "I don't think so," John replied, and moved with surprising speed. What followed shocked even the Drakari. In Earth's gravity, humans had evolved to be stronger, faster, and more durable than they appeared. In Xilara's low gravity, those abilities were enhanced beyond measure. The fight was brief but intense. When it ended, the Drakari lay unconscious, and alarms blared throughout the building. "I think," said Kate as she caught her breath, "we've just officially entered the war." Alan nodded grimly. "And the Coalition is about to learn that humans are far more than just strong backs. We're warriors too." News of the fight with the Drakari spies spread quickly through the Coalition. The humans were now celebrities, admired and feared in equal measure. Security around them increased, but so did invitations to meet with military leaders and scientists. 3 days after the incident, John, Kate, and Alan were invited to visit a coalition outpost on Xylura's second moon. The facility served as a scientific research station and monitoring post. "The moon has even lower gravity than Xylura," explained their guide, a Xylari scientist named Lyra, approximately 1/6 of Earth's pull. "You may find it entertaining." The small shuttle carried them away from the main planet. Through the viewport, Xylura looked like a giant marble of swirling blue and green. John felt a strange homesickness looking at it, though it wasn't his home. The lunar base was a collection of domed structures connected by transparent tunnels. As they stepped off the shuttle, John immediately noticed the difference in gravity. His first step sent him nearly to the ceiling. "Careful," Lyra said with amusement. "Many visitors find it difficult to adjust." But the humans adapted quickly, learning to take tiny steps and gentle movements. Kate laughed as she performed a slow-motion somersault in the air. "This is amazing," she said. "I feel like I could fly." They toured the research labs, where scientists studied cosmic radiation and developed new materials. In one large chamber, engineers tested spacecraft parts. While examining a strange plant in the botany section, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed in every corridor. "Attack warning," shouted a voice over the speakers. "Drakari vessels approaching. All personnel to emergency stations." Lyra's face paled to a lighter blue. "This is impossible. They've never struck this far into Coalition space before." Through the dome's transparent walls, they saw 3 dark ships approaching. Weapon ports opened along their hulls. "We need to evacuate," said Alan. "Where are the escape pods?" "Lower level," Lyra replied. "But there are 200 people on this base. The pods can only take half that number." The first blast hit the station, shaking the structure. Air hissed from a small crack in one wall before emergency sealant covered it. "We need to help," John said firmly. "Kate, can you assist with the wounded?" "Alan, help organize the evacuation. I'll see what I can do about defense." In the chaos that followed, the 3 humans showed their true worth. Kate used her knowledge of medicine to treat injured aliens, carrying those who couldn't walk to evacuation points. In the moon's low gravity, she could lift even the largest aliens with little effort. Alan took charge at the communication center, coordinating escape pods and sending distress signals to Xylura. His calm voice brought order to panic. John joined the small security team. The station had minimal defenses, but he helped position guards at key points. When a section of the dome cracked open, exposing a lab to vacuum, John moved faster than seemed possible. He grabbed a repair kit and sealed the breach while holding his breath for nearly 2 minutes. The Xyluri workers watched in amazement as the humans worked tirelessly. Their bodies, evolved for Earth's punishing gravity, seemed almost superhuman in this environment. "How are you still standing?" asked a wounded security officer as Kate treated his injury. "We've been under attack for an hour. Everyone is exhausted. On Earth, everything is harder," Kate explained simply. "Our bodies are built to endure." When the Drakari boarding parties breached the station, they met unexpected resistance. John led a counterattack, moving with speed and strength that surprised even the battle-hardened Drakari warriors. By the time coalition reinforcements arrived, half the station had been evacuated. The humans had organized the defense, treated the wounded, and held off the Drakari long enough for help to arrive. As the Drakari ships retreated under fire from coalition vessels, Lyra approached the 3 humans. "I did not fully believe the reports," she said, her voice filled with new respect. "Now I understand why the High Council sought your people. You are not just strong. You are something else entirely." John looked at his companions, tired but proud. "We're just human," he said simply. "This is what we do." The heroes' return to Xylura was met with celebration. News of their actions during the moon base attack had spread throughout the coalition. Crowds gathered to watch as their shuttle landed at the capital city spaceport. "This changes everything," High Counselor Jalen said as he greeted them. The Drakari have never attacked a core system before. We believe they targeted the moon base because you were there." John, Kate, and Alan exchanged concerned looks. "They see us as a threat," Alan said. "With good reason," replied Jalen. "The recording of your defense has been viewed by billions across Coalition worlds. You have given our people something they have lacked for years: hope." That evening, in a secure chamber deep beneath the Coalition headquarters, the human delegation met with the High Council's military command. "We must send you back to Earth immediately," announced Fleet Commander Vex, a tall Xilari with battle scars across his face. "We need more humans, as many as your world can spare." "It's not that simple," John explained. "Our world doesn't know about this war. We were sent as diplomats, not to recruit an army." Kate stepped forward. "But we can bring back what we've learned. Our scientists can study your technology. Our military leaders can prepare defenses." "The Drakari won't wait," Vex insisted. "After what happened at the moon base, they will target Earth directly. They cannot allow a high-gravity species to ally with us." The journey back to Earth took only 2 weeks. The Xilari used their fastest ship, pushing its engines beyond normal limits. John spent most of the trip preparing reports for Earth's leaders, recording everything he had learned about Coalition technology and Drakari tactics. Kate worked with Xilari scientists to compile medical and biological data that would help humans understand their new allies and enemies. Alan drafted diplomatic agreements that would protect Earth's interests while forging a strong alliance with the Coalition. "Will they believe us?" Kate asked one night as they looked out at the stars rushing past. "It sounds impossible. Aliens, interstellar wars, humans being special because of gravity." "They'll believe this," John said, holding up a data crystal containing recordings of everything they had experienced. "And they'll understand what's at stake." Earth appeared on their view screens, a beautiful blue marble against the blackness of space. The sight brought tears to their eyes. "It looks so fragile from here," whispered Alan. After landing at a secret facility in the Nevada desert, the three spent days briefing military leaders, scientists, and government officials from around the world. They showed recordings of the Drakari attack and demonstrated the advanced technology the Xilari had given them. At first, there was disbelief and suspicion. But when United Nations representatives met with Zector and his team, the truth became impossible to deny. Earth was now part of a galactic conflict whether they wanted it or not. 6 months later, the first human military units began training for space deployment. Specially designed facilities simulated the lower gravity of Coalition worlds. Soldiers learned to control their strength and adjust their fighting techniques. The Xilari provided technology to speed Earth's development of space capabilities. New ships were built using a combination of human innovation and alien science. Coalition species came to Earth to help with training, but they struggled even in specially created low-gravity environments. What was normal for humans was crushing for them. "We never truly understood," Zector admitted to John as they watched human soldiers train. "Your world shaped you into something unique in the galaxy." An urgent alert interrupted their conversation. "Lieutenant Miller to Command Center immediately," announced a voice over the speakers. When John arrived, the room was filled with grim-faced officers staring at a large screen. It showed a Drakari battle fleet approaching Earth's moon. "They're here," said General Ellis, turning to John. "Sooner than we expected." John looked at the approaching enemy fleet. "They think we're unprepared. They think we're still primitive." General Ellis smiled tightly. "Then let's show them how primitive we can be." The first battle for Earth was about to begin. The Drakari attack on Earth's moon base was fierce but short-lived. They had expected an easy victory against a primitive world. Instead, they met new human-designed ships equipped with Coalition technology. The battle lasted less than 3 hours before the Drakari retreated, leaving behind damaged vessels and shocked survivors. "They didn't expect us to be ready," John said as he reviewed the battle footage with military leaders. "But this was just a test. They'll be back with a larger force. In the months that followed, Earth prepared for war. Factories around the world produced new weapons and ships. The first human space marines completed their training, learning to fight in varying gravity conditions. Kate led a team of scientists who developed a revolutionary discovery: portable gravity generators. The devices could increase or decrease gravity in a limited area. "This will change everything," she explained to John and Alan. "We can create Earth-like gravity on any battlefield. The Drakari won't be able to function, while our soldiers will fight in conditions they were born for." Word of the human counterattack spread throughout the coalition. Species that had lived under Drakari threat for generations looked to Earth with new hope. The Coalition High Council proposed a bold plan: a direct assault on the Drakari homeworld. 1 year after their first trip to Xilara, John, Kate, and Alan found themselves aboard the Coalition flagship, Lightbringer, leading a combined human-alien fleet toward Drakari space. John commanded a unit of human marines alongside Coalition warriors. Kate brought her gravity technology. Alan coordinated communications between the diverse species of the assault force. The Drakari never expected to find another high-gravity species, Alan said as they approached the enemy homeworld. They'd been the strongest for so long, they'd forgotten what it's like to be challenged. The battle began in orbit around the Drakari planet. Coalition ships engaged the enemy fleet while transport vessels delivered ground forces to the surface. John led the first wave of human soldiers onto Drakari soil. The planet had gravity stronger than most Coalition worlds, but still only 80% of Earth's pull. The humans moved with deadly efficiency, clearing landing zones for their allies. Kate's gravity generators proved decisive. When activated near Drakari formations, they created pockets of Earth normal gravity. The enemy warriors stumbled and fell, suddenly weighed down by forces their bodies weren't designed to handle. "They can't even stand up," reported a Marine sergeant. "It's like they're pinned to the ground." The assault reached the Drakari capital city by the third day. Their leaders, seeing defeat approaching, called for a meeting with the Coalition commanders. In a massive stone hall at the center of the city, John stood beside Coalition leaders as the Drakari war chief entered. The alien was larger than others of his kind, with scales that shimmered like metal and eyes that burned with fury. "I would speak with the humans alone," the war chief demanded. "These other species are nothing. But you are worthy opponents." When the room cleared except for John, Kate, and Alan, the war chief spoke again. "In all our history, we have never met another species who could match us physically. We believed it was our destiny to rule." "You were wrong," John said simply. The war chief lunged forward suddenly, drawing the hidden blade. But Kate was ready. She activated a small device on her wrist, and the gravity in the room tripled, matching Earth's pull exactly. The Drakari leader crashed to the floor, his limbs trembling with the effort to move. John stood over him, barely affected by the increased gravity. "This is what we live with every day," John explained. "This is what made us who we are." The war chief's eyes showed understanding at last. "We surrender," he gasped. In the weeks that followed, a peace treaty was signed. The Drakari agreed to release conquered worlds and join the Coalition as equals, not masters. On their return journey to Earth, the three humans stood on the observation deck of the flagship, watching the stars streak by. "They thought we were helpless because we were technologically behind them," Kate said. "But our planet made us strong in ways they couldn't imagine." John nodded. "Earth's gravity broke them, but it built us." Ellen smiled. "And now the galaxy knows. Never underestimate humans." As Earth appeared on the view screen, growing larger by the moment, they felt the pride of returning home. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger universe, and the universe would never be the same.